Well, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today's panel discussion, Level Up Your Career with BU's AI Thought Leaders. My name is Jeff Murphy. I'm a member of the Alumni Career Engagement Team from the BU Alumni Association. Today's event is the second installment in our four-part series, Future Ready, Put AI to Work for Your Career Resilience. I encourage you to visit the BU Alumni and Friends website at bu.edu/alumni to register for the remaining events in this series if you haven't already. Before I introduce our special guests for the day, just a couple housekeeping notes from me. Today's presentation is being recorded and will soon be made available for on-demand viewing on the Alumni and Friends website. Our guests today are eager to answer questions that you have. We'll have a few minutes at the end of the panel to go over those. You're welcome to submit them throughout the presentation using the Q&A function on Zoom. Just hover over your screen, select Q&A, and go ahead and enter your question. I'll also keep an eye on, we have a chat up if you prefer to ask questions in there. It's now my pleasure to introduce our panelists for today. Pete Bernard is a College of Engineering grad, BU College of Engineering grad, and also serves as the CEO of Edge AI Foundation. Pete is also a valued member of our Boston University Alumni Council. It's great to have you here, Pete. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you. I was trying to show off my coffee mug here, my subtle branding.
Fair. Monica Greenberg graduated from the BU School of Law and is currently Executive Vice President, Chief Legal and People Officer for AI business platform LivePerson. Thanks for being here, Monica.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Mamta Rodrigues is a College of Arts and Sciences grad and is the Global Chief Client Officer for Banking, Financial Services, and Insurance at TP, formerly known as Teleperformance. Mamta, it's great to see you again. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And finally, we're thankful to have our moderator joining us today. Azer Bestavros is the Boston University Warren Distinguished Professor of Computer Science and also serves as Associate Provost for Computing and Data Sciences. Azer, thank you so much for being here with us to help lead this conversation amongst some amazing alumni. I'm actually going to start by asking you to set the scene for us a little bit. The entire reason we're hosting this series is to help alumni and students just get a baseline understanding of what we're talking about when we say AI. What do we mean when we talk about AI and its impact on the jobs of today and the future of careers?
Well, first of all, thank you. It's wonderful to be here, and thanks to everyone who joined. It's really about the future and how AI is changing how we work. And in a way, we are in a pivotal moment because AI is not this sort of thing we're doing in the labs in computer science for a long time. It just is now permeating everything we do, reshaping industries, redefining roles, etc. Now, historically, this is new. Technology does that all the time. Technology is about mechanizing things, making them. So what's different? It's making things more efficient. Think of steam engines, moving goods versus horses or assembly lines. So what is different? Or computers, for that matter, doing a ton of computation, sending us to the moon. So it's really about efficiency, just to do more than what humans can with high precision. This is what technology was doing. The difference that what happened is with generative AI, which I think we should just call AI, but it's just this new thing that we're all dealing with today. There is a fundamental shift, and it's not just about mechanization. It's about being able to make judgment. So let me just repeat this again. Up until, 5 years ago or so, this ability to make judgment was not there. It's really just about automating things. It can analyze context. It can draw inferences. It can propose creative solutions. So all of a sudden now machines are mimicking aspects of human decision-making, which they're acting less like tools and more like collaborators. That's the big shift, in my opinion. And AI's capacity for judgment has produced amazing outcomes. So in healthcare, AI systems can spot malignant cancers with higher accuracy than the best radiologists you have. In software development, they generate, adapt code. You have something that says, well, change it this way. It's actually impressive what it can do. Within higher education, my field, right? This is what I do. I can show demos where it can call prospective students and engage in a discussion in any language. If you're like in France and you're a French parent and you want to talk about something, it's just impressive. And be able to answer questions about grades, about this, about that. And of course, like any other decision, humans, it can fail spectacularly, right? I mean, we also have our own judgment and we fail, right? So, and we have seen that happen all the time, where they give ambiguous directives, somebody says something to a box and goes, erases all your software. Good luck with that. These are highly publicized cases, or doing fabricated legal citations with amazing confidence. Like you read the thing, wow, that's really very authoritative, but it's wrong. And of course, issues of bias. But even beyond that, AI is could be malicious and you would not know it because it can figure out ways to go around the system that humans could not find because there's a loophole somehow, and you're giving it this ability to judge. So that's a big also challenge with AI. So what's the implication of all of this? So I'll say this, some roles are just going to disappear because they are really mechanization. And I think the big deal here is the call is the following. Is AI plus a human better than AI itself or a human by themselves? So if AI is better, then the rule is gone. If human is always better than even AI or AI plus a person, then that's what you're going to do. You're going to have the human. But now with AI, the question is whether a combination can be better than either. And I think that's really where we're going, which actually brings us to the topic for today's panel. And I hope the discussion will touch on some of these things. So before we get there, maybe before we think about the future and how to level up, maybe we'll just think about what's happening today, like now. Okay. So I'm gonna go around to the panelists, and it really is wonderful to see you again and to be a part of this. Thank you. I'll start with Pete. So the mission of your organization, the Edge AI Foundation, is to quote unquote create a highly active community of knowledge sharing, collaboration, networking, advocacy, and education to democratize and advance Edge AI technologies. How do you suggest the participants today to educate themselves about AI and the applications in their jobs and careers? What is a good starting point for all of them?
Yeah, no, thanks, Azer, and it's great to be here. I'm trying to represent with my BU gear here, and I'm also I live near Seattle, so that's why I'm still drinking coffee at 12 o'clock in Boston. But yeah, so my organization, so I spent about 18 years at Microsoft. I spent about 14 years in Silicon Valley before that. Actually spent about 2 years in Norwood, Massachusetts, working on firmware after I graduated. So but my organization really represents folks that are making the AI tech, right? Making the chips and the software and the data sets and things like that. So that's kind of my perspective on AI is primarily from the folks that are making the tech that makes AI work. And we do have a lot of, engagement with kind of commercial companies that are trying to figure out how to use AI to solve their problems. You mentioned before automation, efficiency. This could be a quick serve restaurant like a Taco Bell, or this could be, Maersk Shipping or whoever. As you mentioned, AI is just sort of becoming a pervasive tool in the toolbox for everybody. One of the things that we do, and we do a lot of work with the tech makers. We also have a scholarship fund. We do a lot of work with universities and colleges on curriculum and underwrite a lot of programs. One of the things that we see out there that I think is a gap that I would encourage people to think about is just literacy, is just to become literate in the space. You don't have to become an expert. You don't have to start coding in Python or whatever, but I think it would behoove everyone, especially if you're thinking about how to make AI work in your careers, to think about literacy. And even in this space that I'm in, highly technical space, we talk about literacy and understanding what is it, how does AI how does this stuff work? Like, what is a data set? What is training? What is inferencing? Just at a high level, understanding terms so that you can understand when you see things in the news and see things out there, you can say, okay, I kind of know what that is and I know how to use it. So for me, it's the word literacy is kind of a magical word because I think that unlocks a lot of further knowledge, beyond kind of the basics.
Thank you. Could not agree more. When you develop that, you're not afraid of it. Where is it making judgment versus where is just helping me be more efficient? I think that's really great. Thank you. So, Mamta, I'll come to you with the same question. You are the Global Chief Client Officer of Banking and Financial Services and Insurance at TPE. I can think of many applications of AI in your sectors, including regulatory compliance, risk assessment, trading, insurance, underwriting, fraud prevention. What are the most successful applications of AI that you have seen transform that entire sector? Or is transforming it? Obviously, this is ongoing. How has it changed your day-to-day work?
Very much so. Yeah. So thanks, Azer, for the question. So for everyone's benefit, TP, we were formerly Teleperformance, is a business process outsourcing company. So we are the invisible hand behind the scenes many times with the biggest brands in the world. In my world, that entails banking and insurance. And we are providing customer care, customer experience, tech support, creating the tech stack. And in the midst of what I just described, we are disrupting ourselves when it comes to AI. So key things that I'm seeing, and before I do that, I have 30 years in the industry, in BFSI. So I've grown up in the industry and seen a multitude of other capabilities that have come our way, all of which, to your point earlier, Azer, I truly think it is about collaboration and that happy Venn diagram of where does AI start and stop, and where does the human touch start and stop? And there's that happy medium in between. And for us at TP, we see it in a few key components. One is personalization. Personalization is key in not only in my world, but in your customer experience, right? You want to know, you want people, when you're engaging with any client, with any vendor, for lack of a better description, or merchant, you want them to know you. Back in the day with my mom, I remember in banking, and I'll use my example, my mom used to walk into a bank and she wanted a certain bank teller. Why? Even though the line with that bank teller was the longest line, and back in the day, it was brick and mortar, right? This is pre-ATM, pre-everything. And I remember being a little kid saying, well, this line is like short. Why don't we just go there? But she wanted that personal relationship. And that humans don't change, right? Fast forward ahead, there's so many other personalization plays. And what we're seeing is more recent exploration and advancements in AI for financial institutions. We're focusing on that personalization with dynamic offerings and analytics. Firms are increasingly leveraging their AI focus on that hyper-personalization for customer experience to have examples such as personal financial advice or dynamic credit limit adjustments and offers, all enabled by real-time analytics that we're augmenting our experts with. And what marries up with that is predictive analytics. So we see it not only in that first facet of personalization, but also in the next one, wherein we're preventing fraud detection, dispute management. We're hunting for anomalies and leveraging the technology to help us with that, leveraging AI specifically to help us with that, and realizing the anomalies in the behavior and the transactions that entails. So less customer facing, but impactful from a complexity and cost perspective is an enhanced adoption of AI towards regulatory compliance and underwriting. I could keep going, but I will say that, leave you with this, underpinning the successful implementation of AI technology, specifically in banking and insurance, is AI orchestration. And at TP, we recently launched an integrative technology platform that's designed to safely orchestrate AI agents and our AI-powered human experts with automation to truly scale on behalf of our clients.
Thank you. A couple of points here. One of the things I want to say about judgment, I said earlier, this is what they're moving. So many of you may have heard it may be a buzzword, agents, AI agents, and agentic AI. When you think about what it is, it's about AI managing AI. It's about AI So what you discussed there is a great example of that too. And thinking about this personalization, I mean, the same goes for advising in an academic setting. I mean, the student want to go to a particular advisor. That personal relationship is really important. So I'm gonna move to Monica, and in your role as Executive Vice President of Public Policy and General Counsel for LivePerson, which is a company that offers conversational AI platform to enhance customer experience in digital settings. What are some of the most pressing legal and ethical concerns related to AI? I'm gonna, before you answer this, just say that at BU, we have this most amazing relationship with law school. And that question, along with lots of other questions about AI and law and public policy and so on. Yeah, why don't you step in and talk a little bit about that?
Sure, and thank you. So just for everyone's benefit and context, LivePerson is in a customer service, customer experience space, very similar to what Mamta described. So, and we make a conversational AI product, but behind the scenes, it's leveraging all of the types of technologies that everyone has spoken about. It's processing power, it's pattern recognition, it's prediction. So the power of the technology and what it can do to augment human productivity, to improve consumer experience, to improve fraud detection is immense. And I like to say that before I flip into where we need guardrails or governance, because I think that guardrails and governance are valuable to accelerate adoption, to make everyone feel safe using the technologies, to allow companies and consumers to embrace the technology rather than to slow down innovation. Some of the things that I think are really important for the whole industry right now, just broad brush, the power and speed of the advancement of the technology, as you were saying, Azer, is moving faster than we humans can really keep up with or be ready for. And so I think that there is a lot of thought that is needed in terms of how do we want to approach that. And it's like similar to other major paradigm shifts we've seen throughout human history. Just, this is what happens, as you said, Azer, things get mechanized. But similar to when in the dawning of the internet, when that was new, and over time we realized that we needed fraud protection and cybersecurity and ways to protect children online. I think that we need to understand how AI works and how it learns and how it behaves in order to put the right guardrails around it that actually don't slow down innovation, but do accelerate adoption. So in practical terms, in a customer service context, absolutely, we think about all the same things that Mamta was referencing around personalization and making an experience better. We work a lot with the human AI partnership because we're historically, pre-AI, we are a customer service company that provides technology to make human agents better, faster, make their lives easier, make the consumer experience better. So I really believe the future is about human AI collaboration, and the fluency points that we've been talking about and that Pete spoke about so perfectly. I think that the more we all, whether you are a computer programmer or in any role in any industry or any piece of academia, the more we understand how this technology works, I think the better able we'll be to partner with it. It's almost like having new teammates, and you have to build a relationship with them and learn how they think and learn where they're strong and where they're not so strong in order to have a really effective collaboration.
Wonderful. So many things to come back to, but this teamwork business. When I was a young student, graduate student, that's ages ago, it was about teamwork, but it was about how to have software engineers work in a team of humans. And I think it's just now a team that also includes AI, and how AI plus the human can be better than the human by themselves or the AI and better, we can define what better is. That's a good. So thank you. That's really amazing. So we have seen a little bit sort of what you're doing and how it's changing your day, what you do in a day, and what your organization is doing. So I just want to flip now to what do we need to do in order to get ahead of the curve when it comes to AI and the future of work. So it is changing. A lot of this is happening, but how can we set ourselves for success in the future? I'm going to start with Mamta. You did talk a little bit about how you see it in your business, but I now want to graduate students who will be useful for you when they graduate. So I'm going to start with this question. The disruption caused by AI will require business and companies to think about training and retraining their workforce. I will provide you the new workforce, but how about the workforce you already have? What are examples of programs that you are aware of along these lines?
Yeah, it's
What
a
do the
really
university do? Like, what can we do?
really good question. And it's we spend a lot of time because TP is 500,000 people globally. Talent is we are the heart of everything we do is our talent. So the rise of advanced AI tools in our industry is shifting our focus at TP and our experts, our people, toward handling more complex customer issues. It's what Monica, Azer, and Pete, you all spoke about. It's like, what is that happy marriage and how do the jobs change as well? So what we're seeing is our experts are taking more of the complex customer issues and having empathy. And those empathy skills, those EI skills are so important because AI can increase efficiency, it can increase personalization, it can increase predictive analytics and help answer the responses and the queries of the customer faster, better, more efficiently. But what today, there's still an opportunity and what it cannot do, which is possess the human qualities. Now, one could argue maybe in the future it can, but I'm a true believer that there's still a place for all of us humans, and to have that empathy, the adaptability, and the connection that comes from a person-to-person interaction. I see this as a big shift and one that requires change management, as we just talked about, from an organizational level. And for us at TP, given the massive global workforce that we have, that we're now in this disruption of shifting towards leveraging all that AI has for us and beyond, we've trained obviously it's a work in progress, but over 60,000 experts have already been trained in AI and EI training. How do you marry that up, that combination? As far as augmenting, our underlying infrastructure with AI, it's, it's all underneath there. So back to the last part of your question, Azer, what can BU do? At BU, it's important, I believe, to cross-train students on AI and EI so that we know how to use that AI technology and then also maintain the skills and create the bridge, and how critical it is to have critical thinking, human empathy, the engagement aspect of any interaction, so that we can demonstrate the value to perspectives, to demonstrate value to how do you really utilize the new tools and capabilities that are in your tool set. Monica alluded to the internet being that way at one point earlier, but really being that next generation of marrying the two and employees seeing that, and how you're a problem solver in real time, leveraging those tools and being savvy and smart to enable them and use them to create a better interaction.
Oh, thank you. On the empathy piece, I could not agree more. And one thing, as you were speaking, it just came to mind. AI allows us to have more empathy because it can make us more efficient at it, right? If you think about it, it can sort of direct you to what is that one thing I can talk about that could be exciting here, or how a person coming from background would react to this or that. I think it's really increasing our efficiency in even what we do better, and far better in a way.
I truly believe it. So imagine, right? And I grew up with customer first, and I'm a product geek. But when all of us have had a bank, I'm going to use my vertical, right? Bank transaction, an interaction, and you and let's just go old school. You've called a agent, and maybe you've used, nowadays you could use a bot, you could use many other channels to get to your answer. But let's go to the old school of an agent. And when the agent only sees your credit card transaction, but doesn't see that you also have a bank account, you have a mortgage, you have all these other relationships with the same bank. I don't know about you guys, but I sometimes get frustrated and like, do you not know the full me? Like the one relationship of me, and AI solves that, because when I'm calling through, which by the way, I'm the user, I'm using all the omni channels, but by the time I have an agent, I want that personal touch, and I want you to know me. I want you to know that I've had a relationship with you for over 25 years and that I matter. And that's what AI enables even more so. It makes us better at what we do.
Thank you, Mamta.
I would just chime
Please.
in on that too, is
Yeah,
like,
please.
they call human in the loop. That's a term that's used by
Yes.
AI a lot. It's sort of like putting a human in there. And sometimes that can be a great amplifier, but at the same time, we're all humans too. And sometimes you encounter folks at banks, that may or may not, be kind of grade A customer service reps. And that's just part of the humanity of it. But I wanted to just amplify a little bit what Mamta was saying on, sort of advice for folks in BU in terms of career. And, I've hired a lot of folks over the years and fired a few folks, but, and mentored a lot of folks. And I think there's some universal attributes for success, in terms of leadership and proactively solving problems and being supportive of your team. These are not AI attributes, these are universal attributes. And one of them, as Mamta mentioned, was kind of the proactive adoption of new tools in the toolbox, to help you, do those things and to lead and to be successful. And AI is one of those tools in the toolbox. So I would definitely encourage folks, and this goes for someone who works in a flower shop or who's the CEO of Microsoft, the ability to sort of proactively, go out there and go on the offense to understand and adopt ways to make, your impact, more powerful is a key attribute, I think, for success. And it's, we're from my perspective, I think we're still, maybe Azer would disagree with me. I think we're still in the very early stages of AI. I think we're in the steam engine period of AI, where it kind of works, but it's like super inefficient. And you need like a nuclear powered data center to make it work. But we're just on the cusp. And so now is the time for folks to understand it a little bit and to start thinking about how it can help amplify what they're doing. And so I would really encourage people, rather than sort of, and you've sort of self-selected by kind of coming into this conversation, you're interested. But there's a lot of folks that are sort of putting up walls and saying, I will not use self-checkout in the grocery store, or I will not whatever. And my personal take is I don't think that's gonna result in anything good. And so I think we need to think about and lean in to figure out how to make this stuff work right, to make it more transparent, as Monica was saying, and to for whatever you're doing in whatever field you are in, the arts or science or business, think about how it's going to help sort of supercharge your existing sort of process.
Thank you. Actually, what you mentioned also before about literacy. Literacy allows you not to be afraid of something, and of course you're gonna start trying it. I myself sort of just like to play with stuff just to get used to it, and I think that's a preamble to really use it for my work. I'll come back to you, Pete, with another question related to your industry, but I want to go to Monica and ask about. We're now looking forward, right? We're looking for what we should do, etc. So, Monica, what future AI innovations do you anticipate will have the most profound impact on your work? How are you preparing for these advancements? So, looking down the pike, and are there emerging trends that are particularly exciting or concerning for you? You did mention guardrails and all that, but I'd love to hear more on this.
Sure, thank you. So I think, consistent with the conversation so far, I think that the capacity for personalization is immense, and I think that will be a big part of the future. From everything from the businesses you deal with knowing you better and knowing your history, whether it's in that phone call where you've been switched around a few times and we've all had that experience, or knowing your whole history. I think there's a future where we'll have dynamic interfaces. So instead of going to a static app or website or any kind of other interface, it will be personalized to you. So I think there's a lot of exciting innovation that will come from the power of the technology. I think the processing power and the immense pattern recognition power has tremendous potential to advance drug therapies, which every aspect of scientific innovation, and especially biotech and pharma. So I think the potential is immense and exciting, and like every other powerful technology, it can be used for good, or it can be used for, things that are, or it can go awry if it's not well tended. So I do think that going forward, there is going to be massive potential for innovation. I do think that certain more repeatable tasks might see replacement, or at least, heavy use of AI with human oversight. But I really like to believe that just with every other major technological innovation that we've ever experienced as humans, there'll also be new jobs and new domains, and some of them we maybe can't even predict. I mean, before social media, who would have predicted influencers as a career? But I think that we'll see a lot of new in terms of in every way. I think that the part of what's amazing about the tech now that is really powerful, and also maybe needs some really deep thought about where we take it and how we want to work with it, is it's ubiquitous, or its potential to become ubiquitous. I think as Pete said, it can affect and be leveraged by almost everyone in every profession, in every way, everywhere. So I think that that's super exciting. I think the most important thing that a university can do is create that fluency. I know that it's different to have students using AI to do their schoolwork, but I think the sooner education catches up with the reality that it's present, and learns how to teach students how to work with it, how to challenge it, how to question where it's headed on a bigger picture scale, whether that's about innovation or societal impact. I think embracing it and figuring out how to educate around it, how to work with it, is super important for education wise. And just a last thought, I would say to everyone listening, and whether they're BU students or well into their career, play with it personally. There are so many free apps available. The more you just play with it in your personal life, use it to research your next vacation, or the restaurant you want to go to, or to write your Christmas cards, or anything you can think of. The more you just get used to using the technology, the more you will personally understand its potential, understand how it could help you in your work. I think that there's something great about the accessibility that makes it easier to learn and then understand how to work with it near term, long term, big picture, day to day.
Thank you. So something you said about sort of playing with it, I always like to think about, and by the way, I agree with you, Pete, this is, we're nowhere close to any maturity of this technology. The way I like to think where we are, so you use the engine analogy, I'll use right now it's like a pet that is actually yet to be domesticated. It's out there wild. It's created by techies who know nothing about society or whatnot, and they just put it there, right? So now what I tell my students and folks I talk to about this, you need to learn how to domesticate this. Like, you really need to make it work for you. And talking about personalization, my dog is different than somebody else's dog. It's really about working with it and getting that sort of team side of it. So I'm glad you brought this up. I think it is a human collaboration in which the human is the boss. And I use my own area in computing. the jobs of entry-level software engineering are pretty much gone. And so what I have to educate my students to be is a senior software engineer before they graduate. Another way to say it is you're going to be a software engineer who oversees, who is domesticating an AI entry-level software developer. You have to be better than them, of course, but the point being that it's that mindset. It's not taking away my job. It's my job to put it on a leash and make it do what I want. So thank you for this point, Pete. I'm going to come back to you and ask about how did you see the adoption of AI transform careers in your industry? So this is people who have pivoted, perhaps. What steps are you taking, or your company is taking to make that happen for individuals, and what initiatives are they taking, and what challenges do you face?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, certainly I have a lot of colleagues in the software development and hardware development world that are amplifying their skills with AI, right? So, I think people who are in serious software development don't believe in vibe coding, but
yes.
There is certainly, people that are doing really innovative layouts of their hardware designs using AI and other things, which is great. I was going to say one of the things a lot of people talk about, I think Monica mentioned this good example, like new jobs that are created, and that's a big question for AI is like, okay, there's going to be less people working at the Taco Bell, or there's going to be less people at the law firm or whatever. So where are these new jobs? I think one of the new jobs, and I've seen this actually, I just met with a person this morning who started their own company. I think entrepreneurship, an entrepreneur is the new job, is the new thing that's being enabled through AI. And this is a person who was working at a semiconductor company for a long time. They had an idea. AI and the platforms out there, you talked about, these different services and, automation and things that are happening. AI can really power an entrepreneur to become a company pretty quickly. And it's really, for this person, they leapt out of their semiconductor world and now have a startup, and they're in Paris, and they have customers, and they have a great website, and they're using all the tools, and they happen to be building AI, but also using AI to run their company and start it. So I'm really encouraged by probably the number one new job out of the AI revolution will be entrepreneur. And I mentor a lot of folks that are like, well, I'm thinking of I want to get a job at Microsoft when I graduate, but I also have this other idea of this thing I think I can do. And I'm like, maybe you should do that. And so because, AI can create a business and help you scale and do all sorts of interesting things. So I'm seeing a lot of entrepreneurship now, a lot of folks taking their ideas and collaborating and bringing them to market. And I think we're going to see a lot more diffusion of companies, I think, and I think that's going to be good. I think there's going to be, a more balanced set of things out there for people to choose from and work with. And there won't be as many gates and barriers to starting your own business and getting out there with offerings. So I'm encouraged by that.
Thank you. I'm looking at the time, and I think we have maybe time for another round of questions or comments. So I'm going to ask all of you, and you already touched on this, but if you have maybe more to say about the AI skills that are most in demand in your industry now or in the near future, and where did you go to acquire these? And maybe I'll tack another question there, and feel free to answer either, both in whatever order you want, which is, you yourself, what AI tools have you used to magnify what you do, to be better at it, to be more efficient? So I'd love to hear from all of you, but anybody wants to jump first?
I'll start. I mean, in my world in banking and insurance, we're doing quite a bit with, the first part of your question is key facets where double clicking with AI tools is important is in data science and analytics. And I know, Azer, you run the departments. I'm not saying that because you run it, but really it's everything that I described till now in our discussion of the power of data is really what's translating to that meaningful interaction. And so continuing with the soft skills as well, but really that is creating the so what and the personalization. So those skills are really important. And the second piece, which are equally as important, different fat part of banking and insurance, which is not the people interaction, but the back office. So we're looking at AI-led solutions where we see a significant opportunity in back office solutions, specifically in lines of business such as fraud and in fin crime, and how to mitigate, fraud, which is prevalent, right, in my industry, and understanding the ramifications of risk and the fraud ecosystem, and even how risk assessments conducted in the future will be a really good marriage of, the skill sets needed if someone's a risk individual, to marry that up with AI and those capabilities and the knowledge of that, bringing that experience forward.
Monica, Pete?
Sure, I'll jump in. I agree very much that data and data science and statistical analysis remain incredibly important. That's what powers the machine and the intelligence. And so I don't see that. I think that skill set only becomes more important in near-term terms to really figure out how to get use out of AI in any business, being able to break down systems and just to be a systems thinker, I think is still an incredibly important skill set and discipline. So for us, as we're implementing AI in the back office, as Mamta says, or for our customers, really being able to look end to end, step by step, to understand where can AI be useful and where should we not use it? Where should a human have oversight? Where is this a uniquely human task is really high value. And so I think until we get through this next transformation where AI is easily embedded in everything, I think that, and maybe even after that, ability to understand it as system process and systems is super important and will remain for the foreseeable future.
I have a funny anecdote. Back in the early 90s, I was working at this firmware company in Norwood, Massachusetts. And early 90s, I got involved with this NCSA Mosaic web browser. And I was a firmware developer, and I created a web page for this company. It was their first website. And I remember my manager at the time came over to me. He's like, "Why are you wasting your time with that web stuff?" We're still friends, but you need to lean in and try stuff out, whatever business you're in, and be that person that brings that innovative spark to your team and to your business. And AI is a great place to start to do that. So I encourage folks to have a side hustle, have a side gig, study in the evening, go watch YouTubes. Again, you don't have to become, a PhD in the space, but the more you become literate in it, the more you'll find ways to infuse it into whatever you're doing. And again, you could be at the flower shop, at the car wash, at a restaurant. You could be doing all kinds of things, but it will hit you, and that will help you, I think, be much more successful in this space.
Well, thank you all. I really just want to spend a couple of minutes, since I asked a question about BU, to tell you what BU is doing a little bit, and open it up for maybe discussions, questions after that. So I'm actually very much like what you mentioned about entrepreneurship. And AI, the reason Silicon Valley started is because it's very easy to start a company, you have a computer and you write programs and you have an interface. So you don't need to go, if you're going to do, an engine for an airplane, good luck doing that without a huge infrastructural investments and so on. I think AI is magnifying that, just what you can do with it, etc. So I totally agree with this. And I'll give you the anecdotal evidence I have, which is the students coming into BU, freshmen and sophomores, how creative they are about what they can do for BU with AI. Like, I just developed this LLM that is just amazing. Ask it a question about, I want to minor in this and major in that, and I'm weak in this and I'm weak in that. Can you give me the sequence of courses for the last 4 years? It's just unbelievable what they can do. So I think it does unleash that, and I 100% agree with it. let me tell you a little bit more about BU, and maybe Jeff, if you can put up the slide that we worked on together. So at BU, we think of two things actually, and let's not go there yet for the programs, but let me just start by saying we have the existing faculty and students and staff. And by the way, AI is transforming the university operationally as much as anything to do with the academics, just like it's just one sector, right? And so we have an initiative, many of you, I hope you have heard of, it's called the AIDA, which is the AI Development Accelerator. And the way to think about AIDA is we really need to catch up. It's really about upskilling and moving at the speed of where AI is today. So it's about making these tools available. It's about creating the certificate program for our students that will require every student as general education. You have to go through how to use it, how to be critical about it, how to domesticate it, for lack of a better word. So there is a lot of that. I hope you will be able to go check what we're doing there. It's really fantastic and it's going very fast. So I'll start with that because I really think about what BU is doing in three buckets. One bucket is getting up to speed. This is why it's called an accelerator, just getting up to speed. And then the second part is going to be the curriculum itself and how we teach and how we operate the university. And then the third part is the future, the longer term, and that's where research comes in and where CDS comes in. So AI, one thing to just say, LBU is happening in lots of places. There, Monica, I mentioned we work with law school. I was in a presentation where the dean of law school talked about the whole profession, legal, just practice, is changing because clients are refusing to pay for things for human to do because you charge by the hour, and when it can be done basically for free with AI. I'm hearing from professionals who say not using AI may be malpractice because somebody can go sue you. Had you used AI, you could have done that and saved my life. I mean, if you think about what that is. So there is this sort of forward looking, and that's where, CDS research and the Hariri Institute for Computing, that's another place where AI is happening. It's happening across the board in all the colleges. So I just want to say that there's a lot happening. And then in terms of academic programs, if we go to the other slide, Jeff, we actually have, and I saw questions in the chat about what is BU doing in terms of maybe online programs or things that can be done. Very proud of this set. We, first of all, the Faculty of Computing and Data Sciences, I like to say it's really about AI in the field. It's not just AI as a technology, it's how AI connects with the rest of the university. That's what the Faculty of Computing and Data Sciences is doing. We have a Master's of Science in Data Science. Data science has been mentioned as the engine for AI, and we have that. An online master's program in data science. It's very popular, and there are other programs that are at this intersection of AI and something. It's really that sort of expertise at the crossroads is very important. How AI is going to transform enterprise IT, how AI is going to transform business, how is it going to transform software engineering or education, etc. So we are working on these. The ones in the bottom are some of them are almost there, the others are under development, and hopefully very soon will come up. So with that, I just want to thank the panel for this, and I hope that now we open it up for questions, and we'll see where the discussion takes us. Jeff, I hand it back to you.
Thank you so much, Azer, and thank you to all of the panelists for really interesting conversation. I want to invite folks at this time, if you haven't already, we've had a number of great questions that have come in. Again, visit the Q&A panel on your Zoom toolbar. You can see the questions that have come in. I want to encourage everybody to upvote the ones that you're most interested in, that we can make sure to get to those with the time that we have remaining. And actually, some of our panelists have already gone in and typed in answers to questions that came in. So you can also click on the answered section as well. So many of these questions are just about getting started. And Monica, I'm thinking about the way that you so clearly said, just get in there and play with it, which is the way that I know I learn best. But for somebody who wants to read the instruction manual before they go in and start interacting with these large language models, which we are all hearing about the concerns around doing that, sharing personal data, in a place that, how is my involvement with this technology going to be used to train? So on a very basic level, and again, some of you answered these questions already, places to learn about prompt engineering, things like that. How did all of you just sort of get started with that if it wasn't just getting in there and playing with it?
Well, one thing to keep in mind here is that there is no instruction manual, so that simplifies things. And of course, yes, great, good online hygiene. You never give out personal information, always. But I answered a few of these folks. Someone said, "How do I learn about AI agents on a regular basis?" I said, go to ChatGPT and ask, give me 3 newsletters I can subscribe to that will teach me about what's happening in the AI agent space. And lo and behold, you will get some solutions. So ironically, the way you find out about how AI works is using AI and and going to YouTube and things like that. So the good news is there's so many resources out there. Some of them are more structured classes, right? And that can be valuable too. And some of them cost money and you get certificates and things, and that's cool. But getting to that literacy level, there's so much out there already on YouTube. For we all spend time in the evening doom scrolling and wasting our time with our phones. Take that time and invest that in learning a little bit about AI every night. And in a month, you will become probably smarter than like 90% of the folks out there. So that's my suggestion.
I'm not going to take away from what Peter said, which is spot on. I'll add one thing. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable. This is new. It's new for all of us. So while some individuals may appear to be smarter and have the know-how, as Azer and Peter and Monica alluded to earlier, it's very new. And there's no right model, there's no right answer. And learning that's just the beginning. And I truly believe being comfortable with the uncomfortable is really where we are right now for your success.
I actually very much like one of the questions, can we use AI to get trained in AI? I think there was one question like that. And the answer is yes, and you'll be amazed at what you can do. So going back to our students, there is a tool called Notebook LM, which any of you can play with. And Notebook LM will produce a podcast for you based on any question you ask it. And our students are using it, and it's just impressive. They upload their syllabus and ask a question. Okay, well, that lecture I just didn't get. Can you do this for me? So you can actually ask it about AI. Like, how do I do that? It's really fantastic. Anyway, I just want to mention because I like that question.
And I just want to reiterate, Azer, you mentioned the Boston University AI Development Accelerator today, accessible by students and alumni or anybody who's interested. There are already some great videos on there with thought leaders at the university telling people how to craft the right prompt, etc. So, we shared a QR code on the screen for that, but I'm also, everybody who's here today, I'm going to send you a follow-up email with links to all of these resources at the university that Azer outlined. Azer, I actually want to ask you this question. This came in advance from Andrea, who was curious to know, I think you're the best person to answer this. I'd love to hear everybody's answer, but will AI decrease the amount of professors on traditional college campuses?
Oh boy. And this is recorded, right? So, okay. So I think just like we mentioned about leveling up, I think that it's not a matter of less, it's a matter of what they do. So I'll give you some examples of some recent successes of my faculty here in the Faculty of Computing and Data Sciences. Brian Cleary is a professor who does computational biology, and he won an amazing award from NIH. And it is about how to use AI to do better experimental science. So if you're a scientist, are you going to go around and try the 500 different possible experiments because you just don't know? Or are you going to use AI to tell you the next experiment to do? I don't know the answer, but here is an experiment you should do. And by the way, I cannot do it. You have to go to the lab, you have to do this, you have to do that. So it really requires a human. So think about this AI aided. Now that's a very different type of faculty or professors than we have. The teaching we have to do will be different. So I don't know if it's about the number or about what they do. And I think that the one thing that really excites me is, and maybe the faculty, well, let me go. Yes, actually, some people, just like any other roles, yes, we probably reduce the use of some roles within teaching, absolutely positively. But just like Pete and others mentioned, there will be opportunities for something different that now the professors will do, including, I don't know, working with students on hacking BU. That I'm actually saying this because that's exactly what we have. The faculty working with students said, well, let's reimagine how we do advising, and let's work on a project on there. Well, that you need a faculty for this, and that's what they do now in teaching experientially and so on.
And I mentioned it earlier as a spot on to my industry. We have different roles, but not taking away from the human roles. It's more complex roles and more thoughtful roles in some ways. And it's a different set of your portfolio of skills has to change. And if you're not ready for that change, then perhaps the future state isn't right for you. So it is involving the education and the learning now to be part of that journey.
It's actually freeing us for doing the more important things that we're not.
Exactly. Exactly.
I give you an example. I have a faculty stopped by yesterday and wanted to know if it was okay or not. Here's the idea. He says, I want to test the students one-on-one. I just want to sit down with them and have a conversation and grade them that way instead of I don't give them a take home or an exam.
Right.
And he says, I have this idea. Can I use AI to be the conversational agent with the student and I grade the conversation?
Oh my God, I love
Think about
that.
that. If you think about this
I
idea,
love that.
you can do that with 200 students because it's productivity.
Yeah.
And AI can just start the discussion, what do you think of the last homework? How about this question? How about this and that? And it's a conversation. The student can ask a question and the AI will answer it. And the faculty is there to look at that interaction and assess it. Like if you think about it from a productivity perspective, that's huge. We cannot do this today.
That's brilliant. And it's real world application. In the real world, when they have a job, you're not taking a test, you're talking to your manager, you're talking to your team, and you're solutioning, and that's what you're basically emulating that in that environment. It's amazing.
You are all busy professionals. We have a million, of course, this is the case. We have a million great questions, but I want to respect the hour that I've asked you all for. I'm going to ask this last question, which had a few upvotes that I think all of you could chime in on. From Andy, given that generative AI is still in its early stages, Azer, you likened it to a pet that needs to be trained and tamed. What do you all see as the most pressing unmet needs in the AI space right now?
For me, I will just say I think the whole AI, especially generative AI systems, are not transparent. They're very opaque and they're very black box. They're trained on a lot of data and potentially copyrighted data. We don't know how answers are being generated. I think the next generation of AI will be a lot more transparent and auditable. And so I think that would be a great advancement if we could get there.
I think governance, there's still, because it's very new world, there needs to be more governance and guardrails as well. Early days, but that would be my 2 cents to that question.
Yeah, I would really echo that. I think the governance and the transparency and auditability go hand in hand. I think they're also part of the answer to one of the questions I saw in the chat in terms of trying to be mindful of IP in a world where we don't know what the law is going to be about IP. The more that you know where the data came from, you can trace it, you know where answers are coming from, you know where content is coming from. It creates a lot of power to be able to manage as the landscape changes.
Azer, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I wish we had another hour. But like,
Me too.
I really think that that I go back to being creative with AI. I think again, not to brag about my faculty and what they do, but another faculty says, you know what, I want to study why humans may trust an AI, or if you give them 3 choices, which one would they trust more? So it's really about, somebody mentioned auditing. It's really about benchmarking, and it's about auditing, and it's about how do you evaluate AI on the things that humans care about because we're going to work together. So if you're a company and you're going to deploy your customer service and you have choices, how do you measure trust? So this is a professor who does psychology research and decision science, right? Because we make decisions, game theory, we make decisions, and we humans, nobody understands why. Sometimes we are irrational even. So the question is how maybe trust is built because because of something that engineers don't know, and we need to measure it. So just to end with that, I think it's really that human-computer connection where I think there will be huge opportunities both for the users of the technology who is going to be empowered by AI, but also for those who develop AI to know how to work with the humans, just the other side of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all so much. And folks, you asked some great questions in the Q&A here. If you didn't get an answer to your question today, I'm going to encourage you all to look for our panelists on BU Connects behind me. You can find many of them there or perhaps LinkedIn. Mamta, Pete, Monica, thank you so much for joining us. And Azer, thank you for doing so much of the heavy lifting and moderating a great conversation today. I really appreciate all of you for giving your time for our community. We've got folks joining from around the world, and I just really appreciate your sharing your expertise with them.
Thank you for having us.
I want to thank all of our guests for joining us today, especially those of you who've donated to BU in support of the university and our students. If you'd like to make a gift to have your own impact on the next generation of Terriers, I hope you'll visit bu.edu/give and pick out a fund that means the most to you. Our next event in this Future Ready series is coming up on Friday, October 17th. We have a fantastic presentation from somebody who was actually in the audience today and we didn't answer her question. Angela Pitter is going to be offering AI-powered LinkedIn profile makeover from hidden gem to center stage. You can sign up for that now on our website at bu.edu/alumni. I hope you all have a great day or a great evening. And thank you again to all of you for this fantastic panel. Take care.